What's up guys, Red Devil Ace, and welcome back to my channel. It's been a good few days after EVO 2026, and I really wanted to make a video as soon as I got home, but things got in the way, and I had to take care of some stuff behind the camera and things like that when it comes to my job, family, and all sorts of stuff. But the first video back from Vegas that I really wanted to make is basically the main topic that I've talked about with a bunch of people over in Vegas, and I could talk. I really wanted to either talk about all the indie games that I played and what this could mean for fighting games moving forward when it comes to creativity and productivity in the FGC space, or some or certain games that could be on the horizon. But the biggest conversation starter and the biggest topic that was mentioned throughout all three of my vlogs was, of course, Marvel Tōkon Fighting Souls. Now, Marvel Tokon has been a video or bleh, Marvel Tokon has been a game that I've had my eye on for the longest time, ever since it got revealed in a state of play about like last year, I think it was. And it's just been a lot of speculation, a lot of hype behind this game, and how that Marvel Tokon is bringing MVC back from the dead. Like we finally got a really solid Marvel fighting game, but because of the company behind it, that being Arc System Works, I feel like Marvel Tokon will be the kind of game that a lot of us would love, but not the kind of game that we'd be expecting, in a way. So what I mean by that is that, yeah, it is really cool that we're getting a really solid Marvel fighting game back after the disaster that was MVCI, but then the FGC brought it back with MVC Infinity and Beyond. But I just really wanted to talk about some points and some things that were mentioned while I was at EVO. For starters, I think the first point that I really wanted to touch on that kind of goes into a bigger sphere on what the main purpose of this video was going to be. That when I was at the meet and greet with the devs of Marvel Tokon, and I finally got to meet them face to face, which is something I never thought I would do, meeting the devs of a really high-profile fighting game, that I introduced myself. I basically said, like, I'm so happy that they chose Robbie Reyes over Johnny Blaze as the main ghostwriter for this game, and they said thank you so much for being a fan and all things like that, and they've also said that they wanted to keep their fans surprised. And with the decisions they made character-wise in Marvel Tokon, I feel like they're really aiming to keep people on the back foot. And what I mean by that, by keeping their fans on the back foot, that they want to keep their fans surprised. They want their predictions to be wrong, and they just want to come up with certain ways that, with decisions and characters that would surprise a whole bunch of people. And I feel like they are kind of do that with choosing certain versions of certain characters. Like in MVC, we've had we basically had a generic Iron Man, generic Captain America, generic Hulk, like, and I don't say like generic like as like taking a shot at MVC or anything. It's just that we're getting like legacy versions of the characters we grew up with. Like we got like a good version of Iron Man, good version of Cap, good version of Hulk, good version of Wolverine. Basically giving them looks that we can recognize since we were like 4 years old. And it was cool and everything, but then we all know what happened to MVC after Infinite. Like, basically the whole series is dead and buried at this point, but it's still really beloved by the FGC. But then we got Marvel Tokon, who's bringing certain versions of certain characters and keeping the lore and attitude behind the characters intact. That's something that I really adore from the devs at Arc System Works. That we're getting Modeled Prime Iron Man, we're getting the Green Scar Hulk, Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider, Shuri Black Panther, and what else? We're getting like a new version of Spider-Man and Nolan North Deadpool, and we finally got Blade as the base roster of a fighting game. It's just that certain choices that Arc System Works is making, they're really trying to make this they're just trying to make this into a video game that can be loved by fighting game players and comics fans all at the same time, which I think is absolutely phenomenal that that Marvel Tokon and Arc System Works is going on the certain route. And the second point that I really wanted to touch on is when I was meeting certain content creators that I've asked about Marvel Tokon and what their expectations were for the game. And one of the biggest points that I've heard or that's been said to me, that we do want characters that a lot of people want, but people also said that we don't want people that we don't know of, which I think is a bit of a double-edged sword, because in MVCI we did get a lot of characters that a lot of people wanted, therefore that being all the MCU tie-ins with stuff like that. And yeah, but like we got the characters that we mostly recognized at the time, but we didn't get any Fantastic Four characters and we didn't get any X-Men characters, which are most likely some of the biggest characters in the MVC series, period. And now we're getting Doctor Doom as the leader of his own team, an entire X-Men team. Yeah, we're finally getting characters I've always wanted as a sequel to MVC3. But the second point that said that the others said that they don't want characters they don't know, and like therefore being like no one wanted Danger. But I feel like bringing in characters like Danger could also be one of Marvel Tokon's greatest strengths, in my opinion. Because yes, we want characters that we don't want, but we also want to see characters that we don't know of, but we could be invested into knowing the lore behind certain characters or where the characters come from. And I think Danger was an absolute amazing character to start with, because I bet barely anyone in the FGC space even knew who Danger was or what Danger was about. And basically, for backstory, Danger is the AI of the Danger Room in the X Mansion. That's the one controlling the training room, and I remember one of its top protocols that it can't hurt mutants. But just in bringing characters that are so out of left field could really play into Marvel Tokon's strengths, because we could have stuff like the Hood, we could have Sentry into the game, some of the Heroes for Hire characters, like really low-level characters that not a lot of people know of, but Arc System Works can twist them around enough that can make them possible mainstays in the FGC. Yeah, but all in all, I just really wanted to make a quick video basically talking about Marvel Tokon, because since that was the biggest conversation that I've had while I was at EVO, and the game was absolutely phenomenal to play in the Arc System Works booth, and I really hope that the Arc System Works devs are continuing down this path of bringing in different versions of legacy characters into the fold and bringing in more lesser known characters into the bright lights so people can actually see how expansive Marvel is as a whole. And I'm just overall very much excited for the future of Marvel Tokon. And once that game comes out, you bet your ass I'm gonna start playing that day one, because it's like I said before, it's been a really long time since we had a really big Marvel fighting game. But this is the kind of game that is taking people by surprise in a variety of ways. And even though my predictions for the Midnight Suns team, that my prediction was Ghost Rider, Daredevil, Nightcrawler, or Blade, at least I got half of it right. But putting in characters like Deadpool and Loki, and also that Thor is not even going to be on the base roster alongside Iron Man, Cap, Hulk, and the rest of the Avengers. It was actually a very, very interesting choice. Like maybe Thor will have his own team and things like that. And also the decision of, I think it's like almost every single team has one mutant or one X-Men in each team. I think it was a really, really good call, so we can have like more characters that X-Men fans would really, really appreciate. And also like each team having its own, like each person having its own team and then being a leader of other characters. I think it's such an awesome call. And just the overall gameplay differences between MVC and Marvel Tokon are very, very distinct, but with the work that Arc System Works has put into this game, I feel like this is a game that will last for years. And I think I remember the Street Fighter 6 developer said that they want at least 10 more years of Street Fighter 6. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have at least like 10 more years of Marvel Tokon, because like Guilty Gear Strive has been going on for a considerable amount of years, and the game has barely ever died off at all. Like they keep bringing in new characters that a lot of people really enjoyed, and crossovers that people no one would expect. Like, who thought that freaking Lucy from Cyberpunk was going to be in Guilty Gear Strive? That honestly sounds like a freaking wet dream, but it turned to reality. And down the line, we're gonna have another guest character coming in to Guilty Gear Strive, and I don't know if they're going to continue with more Cyberpunk characters now that Edge Runner Season 2 is going to be on the horizon, or they're finally going to cross over. They're going to use IPs under the Arc System Works umbrella to cross over into Guilty Gear Strive, therefore being Blaze Blue, P4A, Under Night In-Birth, or maybe Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. I think would be really awesome. Or, and this might be the least possible one, but because Baiken was put into Samurai Showdown, maybe we can get like an SNK character that could fit into Guilty Gear Strive, even though I seriously doubt that most of SNK's roster would fit into a world like Guilty Gear. And I think adding Lucy but not David was actually a pretty cool call. But all in all, it's just the world of Arc System Works is expanding each and every minute, and I'm just thoroughly enjoying every single bit of it. So yeah, if you want a game that will definitely surprise you, but will keep you entertained for the longest period of time as a fighting game fan, as a comic fan, or just as a maybe even as an anime fan, because it does have Arc System Works has a really distinct art style that I feel like even anime fans will definitely appreciate. It just checks all the boxes for me personally, and I feel like it'll definitely check a lot of boxes for a bunch of people that are looking for something special out there. And Marvel Tōkon is definitely something to look forward to. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this, please like, share, and subscribe. Each one really counts. It always makes my day. Please leave your thoughts on possible characters and possible teams that could be in Marvel Tokons in the comments down below. I'm really curious to hear what your guys' take on this video. Like, do you guys agree that they should add more characters that people really want instead of adding characters that no one really know about, or should there be a balance of the two, or should there be more obscure characters rather than more famous characters? Basically, any type of argument is a good one when it comes to this sort of thing. So I'm just really curious on what your guys' thought is on all this. And I do have a bunch of more video ideas coming soon. Like, maybe I can have some friends on over on a video like this, so we can talk about possible predictions or like characters that we personally want in Marvel Tōkon. But all in all, this game's future is definitely going to be something to look forward to. So, like I always say, get the blood boiling and the heart pumping. My name is Devil Ace, and I'll see you all next time.